everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is C and I am a self-taught jewelry maker. Let's talk about an ear jacket. Technically, it is actually an additional accessories that can be worn behind the ears, but here I'm creating another term. I want it to also be worn stacked together with stud earrings. It will give a volume and uniqueness to the earrings. You have probably already guessed, we are going to make a pair of ear jackets, a pair of stud earrings, along with its ear jackets. This is by far one of the funnest creative project that I have made along in my creative journey because I immediately thought of my minimalist client who do not like wearing too much jewelry. What you're looking at right now is actually the massive mismatch that I do for my collection. If you are interested to see the product, they are made to order and you're welcome to check those on my Etsy store. The link will be included on the video description. As for us today, we're going to get down and dirty making this vertical square with its ear jacket. This is my personal collection that I wear day in and day out. I experimented to oxidize the stud piece, but the piece that we will make will be in satin finish. First thing first, let's talk about the material that we're going to use. For the studs is 16 gauge and 20 gauge and the length are 5 centimeters and 1 centimeter respectively. And for the ear jackets is 6.75 centimeter. You can pause here and take a note if you like. Before I forgot, I'm going to use the piece of Lego as a guide for the shape. Now let's get to work. We're going to make this stud first. Take your 16 gauge wire and divide it into 4 segments by marking it with Sharpie. To make it easier, first divide it into 2 equal parts, about 2.5 centimeters each, and then divide each part in half, which made each segment about 1.25 centimeters long. Using the flat nose pliers, I fold 90 degrees on each segment. You can take time to do it correctly here. As you can see, I'm using the Lego to see if it's 100% 90 degrees angle, which is not. It can be hard to do it right at the beginning, and I'm using the help of flat nose pliers as well as the parallel pliers. To know if your square is good, the two ends will meet at the 90 degrees angle. Also, if you can borrow your child's Lego, you can always refer it back to the shape. Very practical, right? If you like the shape, now open the square loop by tearing it vertically. I'm going to make sure the end wire meet. So I'm going to use the diamond disc to cut the end at 45 degrees each. Now put it back into the position and see if they meet. Not quite, but it's alright. I'm going to correct the edges by inserting the nail file in between the two edges and file until the edges meet. For the soldering purposes, there should be a little bit of a tension between the two sides. So I'm going to play it like this. And this looks quite good for me. I'm going to mark the meeting point with the Sharpie, then put it away. Next, I'm taking the 20 gauge wire, the 1 centimeter each, and using the diamond disc again, I'm flattening one edge. We're going to use this for the stud later. To make the job easier, I'm also marking with the Sharpie. Now let's make the ear jacket. The wire is 6.75 centimeters. So I want to single out the 0.75 centimeters to be forged into an O-ring and the rest for the vertical square. So I'm dividing the 6 centimeters equally into 4 segments like this. Using the Dremel diamond disc, I'm going to flatten the edge of the wire on the 0.75 end. And then do like the previous wire, force the wire into a perfect square. Once again, you can use the Lego. Be careful though with this length. While forging, the wire cannot envelop the Lego pieces, so pay attention to that. If you hammer it flat, however, it would spread more, perhaps it can envelop the Lego, but definitely not at this stage. Next, I'm using the round nose pliers. It has to be a very small round nose pliers, okay? Carefully make a loop that cannot pass the Sharpie mark. Make sure the edge touch the other end. We're going to solder all these together. Also, don't forget to file flat the other end of the wire. Make sure that it's very flat, that it will touch the, I think I would call it the neck of the square. I don't know how to call it, guys. It looked like this. And to make it extra flat, I am using the help of the parallel pliers to flatten the piece. Now, this one is ready to solder. We are preparing my bench for the soldering work. If you are interested to know the materials I'm using or the detailed way of soldering, this video is perfect for you. If you are a beginner in jewelry making and would like to venture soldering, for example, I'm going to put the link on the video description and on the screen for you to check it out later. The first step for soldering is to make sure that the pieces are being covered by the borax paste. This is to protect them from direct flame. And I'm using the third hand to hold the stud while the square is laying flat on the soldering stone. This setup allows me to only focus on the soldering. I'm placing the solder chip at the corner. Heat the element for a couple of seconds, and then I'm melting the solder. Once it's melted, I pick it up with the titanium needle and slowly apply the solder ball onto the cap. Make sure that I don't overheat the piece by pointing it outward sometimes. Since this is a small piece, it will only take a couple of seconds to melt, so it should be an easy project for you, right? Hopefully. Next, we're going to solder the ear jacket. This time, I put the solder chip straight onto the piece. Heat up the element slowly, and an accident of melting the whole pieces almost happened, y'all. It turned out that I did not put enough borax, so I had to stop the fire and reapply the borax. Let's restart. A tips to fire a small element like this is to point the fire not more than 3 seconds, and you need to keep the fire moving, and once it's 3 seconds you need to point the fire away before you point it back up again. And once the solder melts, there's no point of firing anymore, so you can completely stop. Here I'm flipping over the piece so that I make sure that the solder is melting all the way through. Once it's done, put it in the pickle bath. My solution is super easy: citric acid and water. You can find any citric acid in every grocery stores, I think. And I let it soak for more than 15 minutes. And for this time, I soak it for the whole hour. Let's look at the result. Oh, this one right here is over melted. I think I need to change my stone because it seems to me that it is melting through. But that's all right since it's going to be a satin finish and the wire needs to be flattened anyway. So I'm going to fix it. I do not have to make another new one. Here I'm making sure that the wire is straightened using the parallel pliers and checking back and forth with the Lego. As you can see, I'm somewhat anal when it comes to perfecting the shape. Here I'm using the diamond drill bit. As you can see, for sure I'm going to fix this jagged edges, just running it back and forth, and make sure that the speed is not too fast because you can definitely ruin. And once they are a little bit off, I smoothing it out with this Terracotta bit. Guys, please don't ask me the name of these because I always look for the cheapest stuff online. If you go to Lidl, sometimes they would have this very cheap set of drill bit, including the polishing paste, which is very nice. And sometimes I also use that. So if you are a beginner, don't worry about having a nice tool. Even me, I keep on using the tools that are secondhands or the ones that I can find at promotion price. Sorry for the rambling, and actually, this is just my opinion, okay? You can do whatever you like. Here, right now, as you can see, I'm just smoothing out the edges using the terracotta bit. This is not the highest grade file. For me, the highest and the softest finish would be the green bit. So here, just the terracotta bit because I'm going to sand all over the surface manually anyway. And I keep on referring back to the Lego to make sure to have a final check of the shape to make sure that it's really square and the pear has a somewhat equal shape. Next step is to hammer the piece. I'm going to hammer them lightly and I don't care if it doesn't leave a hammering marks as a texture because at the end we're going to file it off anyway. My point is to enlarge the square. Also, maybe that the round wire needs to be flattened a little bit. Before the sanding begin, I need to fix this problem. Remember the side that was burned earlier? It has affected not only the front part but also the side part. The wire that's supposed to be straight, it's actually wavy because of the fire and definitely ugly. So I'm using a needle file to take care of the problem. Dairy keepers, I hope that you are still here. I'm now going to sand the whole surface. First thing first, I'm going to use 400 grit sandpaper. To attack the ugly wavy burned wire, these ugly gremlins needs to be completely smoothened out. If you want to know the detail on how I sand my jewelry into a mirror finish, I have made a special video about that. So I'm going to put the link on the description below, also on the screen for you to be able to watch them later. In conclusion, it's very easy. Purchase any set of sandpaper. The smallest number has the coarsest surface. That's what you use to get rid of a stubborn scratch. The highest number has the softest surface. This is to smoothen out the silver surface so smooth it can resemble a mirror at the end if you are doing it right. I'm skipping the steps here. At the end, I'm using the steel wool to give it a bit of a soft shine. This is my version of satin finish and my clients love them. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I made the biggest mistake is not to take photos of the end product. I'm so angry. My microphone did not do its job. I was left with 5 minutes of me doing the lip sync of the word I don't even know what. Oh well, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share to your friends, fellow jewelry maker. Stay creative, be kind to yourself and others. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.